Hello friends. Recently one of my family members, my sister, was asking for my wife's cell phone number, and I started thinking for a while. I started recalling what was it, 98. I started looking in my phone book, and my sister said, "What? You don't recall your wife's cell phone number instantly? You are going to have it now." Anyways, I said I was only joking. I know the number, don't worry about that. But the point is, back in good old days, I remember since our childhood, we used to remember at least 500 phone numbers by heart. And now, with more and more reliance on the technology, more we rely on the technology, everything is in the phone book now, and hardly anything in our own brain's memory. So the question is, and many students asked me whether we can improve, expand, increase our brain's memory, because it's going to be an essential part of your medical journey. So let's see whether the memory is entirely genetic in its attribute, or whether we can improve and expand our memory. It's an essential ingredient uh, for your medical journey. You will have to remember lots of physiological concepts in first year, then drugs and adverse reactions in the second year, then medical treatment protocols in the medicine, and therefore you will have to have a good amount of memory. First things first, is memory entirely genetic? Let me answer this question. It's only partly related to the genetic. That is, the number of nerve cells, the number of neurons, they are determined by the time you are born. And that is genetic influence, of course. After a certain point of time, after birth, that is, the number of neurons do not increase. Nerve cell is a terminally differentiated tissue. So its differentiation has been completed. And yet we go on learning more and more things, because what increases is the number of synapses. So remember this, that memory means neurons, nerve cells, and particularly the synapses. And the number of synapses can increase throughout life by your own efforts. So that is different from the genetic influence. Right. Now, synapses means, the connections between any two nerve cells. There, you require neurotransmitters, you require vesicles that contain the neurotransmitter, and dendritic geometry, which keeps on changing throughout life. And the dendritic spines need a lot of proteins. So what is required really is neurotransmitter synthesis. Now, particularly, I would say glutamate is the neurotransmitter that you are looking for here. Glutamate, because it is this neurotransmitter which is released in the hippocampus, and hippocampus is the storage site for the long-term memory. So you are looking for glutamate, and other than that, of course, acetylcholine, dopamine, serotonin. These a few neurotransmitters are really required to have a good sound memory. So neurotransmitters and proteins, these two will be the essential aspects if you want to increase your memory. And therefore, what kind of diet should you have? What kind of things should you avoid? And then what are the other good practices that you can follow to increase your memory? Starting with the diet, of course, because dietary contents are going to be made available to the body, and ultimately the neurotransmitter synthesis will happen. So if you are looking for a non-vegetarian type of a diet, then fish and eggs. I'm talking about the proteins with highest biological value or highest bioavailability. Look, we consume proteins, but then body will modify them and then convert them, and then either form this new proteins for structures, or enzymes and functional proteins. So it has been found that the fish and the eggs have the proteins with highest biological value. These proteins will be made available to your nerve cells eventually for the dendritic geometry changes in the dendritic spine, increase in the dendritic spine length, and formation of the neurotransmitter vesicles. They also will be providing you with the for the synthesis of neurotransmitters, glutamate and other. If you are looking for a strictly vegetarian diet, then what I gather from various resources is that cheese, spinach, protein, and the foodstuffs that are high in tryptophan, tyramine, tryptophan containing foodstuffs, and of course there are some foodstuffs that also contain glutamate directly. I remember for a large part of my student career, we had a fixed place where we used to go for our lunch and dinner, and very routinely we used to have food over there. My order was fixed. I didn't have to ever tell the bearer what I want, because it was palak soup, paneer chili dry, veg fried rice, or veg pulao. Now that was my diet, and the basis was palak soup, as I said, spinach. A spinach or any green leafy vegetable is good source which will give you formation of, which will give you starters for the neurotransmitter synthesis. Paneer for that protein content, and the Chinese part, it contains Ajinomoto and other things which are known to have the monosodium glutamate. And I'm not for a moment suggesting that that same glutamate will be given to brain as the glutamate. No. But then some amount of it definitely is made available in the form of glutamate as a neurotransmitter. So glutamate containing foodstuffs found highly in the Chinese foods. That is what I gather from various resources. And veg fried rice or veg pulao, that is for those vegetables, because you need some rice for insulin synthesis, insulin secretion. The carbohydrates, glucose will cause insulin secretion, and that insulin will be good to increase the uptake of amino acids by the nerve cells, so that those will be converted to your neurotransmitters, and some of them will be utilized for the dendritic geometry. So you require that insulin secretion, and therefore this much rice, let's say half plate rice, but it also contains those vegetables, so that your glucose does not suddenly spike. There is it will have a low type of glycemic index. Glucose will not suddenly spike, and that's taken care of by those vegetables. Apart from that, the usual stuff like nuts, almonds, pistachio. These are good to form those neurotransmitters which we are looking for. My current favorite is cranberry for last few years, because it is known to contain a certain amount of phytochemicals, and they prevent the glycation reactions. If there is high glucose for prolonged periods, then there are glycation reactions. Advanced glycation end products are formed, which are not good in a long term. So cranberry is known to break those glycation products, and therefore it's my current favorite. Dark chocolate once in a while is also known to be a good source of neurotransmitter synthesis. Right. Avoid wheat and anything that is wheat based, and that's because it has a high glycemic index. Glucose will spike suddenly, and it is not known to generate either the proteins required for your dendritic geometry or the neurotransmitters. So by and large, you may avoid wheat. I know here you might say, sir, pizza, burger, all these things have wheat based products. You can have them once in a while. We are looking for, by and large, I'm not saying this as a daily meals should contain this, but regularly if you eat these, then yes, it will help you in building up your strong and long-term memory. Now coming to the other part, that is study pattern. Look, how our long-term memory is established is that we learn for the first time. When we are studying for the first time, it's the first time, so we are acquiring that information. It's called learning. Then it will be stored temporarily, so that is short-term memory. Now this short-term memory which is formed in the cortex will then converted into long-term memory in the hippocampus, and then it will be consolidated in the frontal lobe, again prefrontal cortex. So we require conversion of short-term to long-term memory, that is in hippocampus, and as I told you, hippocampus means glutamate as a neurotransmitter, and then we require consolidation of that long-term memory so that it can be remembered for long time. So your study pattern should be like this. For the first time, read, only read properly and try to gain some of the important points. Then close the book and immediately try to visualize that page. What was the content on that page? Where was the diagram? What was written in bold or caps, or what was in the text box, etc. Try to visualize those things. You are making a short-term memory of what you read just now. Then the important part, next morning when you get up, first thing that you should do is, for at least for 15 to 20 minutes or half an hour, is to recall those things which you have read on the previous day. This will help you convert that into a long-term memory. And why do I say morning hours? Look, basically it is known that long-term memory and its consolidation occurs during REM sleep. So if you get up early, little early in the morning when your brain was expecting an episode of REM sleep, that time if you get up and try to recall those things of the previous day, it is going to be fantastically converted into your long-term memory and also will help the consolidation. So you have consolidated those things, repeat them after 10 to 12 days, recall those things, and it will be completely confirmed in your hippocampus and prefrontal cortex or frontal lobe. So that is how you should read actually, in these stepwise manner. This will help you increase your memory, because as you are trying to recall same day, next day, and 10 to 12 days later, you are actually trying to make those new synapses in your hippocampus and cortex. So on one hand, you are trying to build those new synapses in the brain. On the other hand, you are also providing them with the neurotransmitters. It will be fantastically, absolutely converted into a good long-term memory. This is how you can expand your memory. Last point is about the concentration. You require certain amount of concentration if you have to develop this kind of a long-term memory. There is a Pavlovian conditioning and operant conditioning. In that, there is conditioned stimulus followed by unconditioned stimulus and pairing of the stimuli, and it converts into a memory or a good learning. This is known to us already. But if there is interference between conditioned and unconditioned stimulus, then that pairing is lost. It's called as extinction, and then that memory will fail to develop. So therefore, avoid any interference while you are going through this repetition and recalling of your study matter. Particularly, I'm talking about the social media. You know, we are on Instagram, we are on other social media platforms, but I would say keep this as your reward. You know, we have a reward behavior by the brain, and you know, reward means dopamine and other neurotransmitters. So keep your social media and other such activity as a reward to your brain. This will develop a healthy memory, a good memory. Reward meaning that you decide, today I am going to complete this much part of the chapter. Today I am going to completely memorize it. And then once you have achieved it, keep your Instagram or any other thing as a reward for your own achievement, small achievement, or your hard work that you have performed. So go to the social media only as a reward, not as a casual thing, and then you will see slowly the memory is going to expand. This is all neurophysiology. Whatever I have mentioned about the foodstuffs and the reading style, etc., is all taken from the researches that we find everywhere. So, what are you waiting for? Start today, and slowly your memory will improve.